When you truly believe that God is your source, fear begins to fade away. Faith becomes the light that guides you through the darkest moments of your life. Most people live their lives consumed by worry about money, health, relationships, or the future. But when you shift your focus from the problem to the provider, peace begins to fill your heart. You understand that no matter what comes your way, God already has a plan. Faith is not pretending that everything is fine. It is trusting that even when everything isn't fine, God is still in control. Every time you choose faith over fear, you take a powerful step toward the destiny God designed for you. Fear paralyzes, faith propels. Fear looks at the storm, faith looks at the Savior. Fear says, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, even if it doesn't, God will still make a way. When you operate in faith, you stop depending on your own understanding and start leaning on divine wisdom. You begin to see that every delay, every setback, every closed door carries a hidden purpose that's working for your good. You stop panicking when things seem uncertain because you know who your source is. Fear thrives on doubt, but faith thrives on trust, and when you trust that God is your source, you live with calm assurance even in chaos. You can face challenges with courage, walk through uncertainty with peace, and speak victory even before it appears. Faith transforms the impossible into the inevitable. It doesn't mean you won't face fear. It means you won't let fear decide your future. Every miracle begins where faith replaces fear, and the moment you truly believe that God is your source, you'll find that nothing can stop what He has prepared for you. When you understand that God is your source, you stop depending on the limited and start trusting the limitless. The job you have, the people who support you, or the opportunities you receive are not your ultimate providers. They are simply channels through which God's provision flows. When one channel closes, you don't fall apart because you know the source is still working. Many people panic when a door shuts or a resource dries up, but those who trust God know that He can create new doors, new streams, and new opportunities out of nowhere. Depending on resources keeps you anxious, but depending on the source keeps you peaceful. God never runs out of ways to bless you. When a relationship ends, when a job is lost, or when finances seem uncertain, it's not the end, it's often a redirection. God might close one door to lead you to a greater one. Sometimes He removes what you were depending on so that you'll remember to depend on Him again. The key is to stay connected to the source through faith, prayer, and gratitude. When your connection to Him is strong, everything else flows naturally. It's like a tree rooted beside a river. The leaves stay green no matter the season because the roots are drawing from the source. In the same way, when you stay rooted in God, your life bears fruit even in difficult seasons. You stop living in fear of loss because you understand that your supply doesn't come from man, it comes from God. Resources may change, but the source remains the same yesterday, today, and forever. The more you trust Him, the more you'll see miracles unfold. You'll realize that what you thought was taken away was just being replaced with something far better. Gratitude is one of the most powerful forces you can activate in your life when you recognize that God is your source. It shifts your entire perspective from focusing on what's missing to celebrating what's already present. When you start each day by thanking God for what you have, your breath, your strength, your family, your opportunities, you open the door for more blessings to flow. Gratitude attracts abundance because it shows God that you trust His timing and His provision. When you complain, you focus on lack, and lack expands. But when you give thanks, you focus on provision, and provision multiplies. Gratitude isn't about ignoring your problems. It's about choosing to see God's hand even in the middle of them. It's saying, Lord, I may not have everything I want, but I thank you for everything I have. This attitude creates peace, strength, and joy, no matter what season you are in. God responds to a thankful heart because gratitude is the language of faith. When you thank Him in advance for blessings that haven't arrived yet, you're showing Him that you believe He will provide. That faith pleases Him. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come when you start praising instead of worrying, when you start thanking instead of complaining. Gratitude turns small beginnings into great victories. It transforms ordinary days into extraordinary ones. Even in times of struggle, you can find something to thank Him for: the lesson learned, the strength gained, or the peace that came in the middle of chaos. Every time you choose gratitude, you draw closer to God, and that connection strengthens your spirit. The more thankful you are, the more your life aligns with His flow of blessings. Gratitude doesn't just change what you receive, it changes who you become. When you truly understand that God is your source, your focus begins to shift from chasing possessions to fulfilling purpose. You stop measuring your life by what you own and start valuing it by what you contribute. Many people spend their lives pursuing wealth, recognition, or success, thinking those things will bring lasting fulfillment. But true satisfaction only comes when you live for something greater than yourself. When your purpose aligns with God's will, everything else begins to fall into place. The opportunities, the connections, the resources, all flow naturally because they're drawn to divine purpose. God doesn't just bless effort, He blesses alignment. When you live for purpose, you realize that your gifts, talents, and even your struggles are part of a bigger plan designed by the Source Himself. You start to understand that every skill you have is not just for personal gain, but to serve others, inspire others, and reflect God's goodness. Possessions can disappear overnight, but purpose endures through every season of life. Purpose keeps you steady when life shakes you. It keeps you hopeful when circumstances seem impossible. When you live for purpose, you stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I give?" That's when life becomes meaningful. God didn't create you just to survive. He created you to make an impact. And when your purpose becomes your priority, provision always follows. God never calls you to something without providing everything you need to fulfill it. You don't have to chase blessings when you're walking in purpose. They will find you. Living for possessions creates pressure, but living for purpose creates peace. It gives you clarity, direction, and joy that money can't buy. When you put purpose over possessions, you're declaring that your source is more important than the things He gives, and that's when you begin to live a truly abundant and fulfilled life.